People always ask how I balance my family life with 400 shows a year. I'm just doing what I love with the people I love. It's my magic life.
I like Wes Iseli. I like everything about him.
All right. Today we have it's going to be fun, podcast with one of my best friends in magic, although he ghosts me a lot of times when I call. But I love the guy so much. I love the guy so much. Everybody, it's Reggie Rice. Let's get into it, buddy. What's up, man?
Hello. How you guys doing? Thanks for having me on. What episode is this? Like 3,000?
Season 4, episode 26.
Yeah, so I text him every season and was like, "Hey Wes, when am I getting on?" And he was like, "You're not big enough yet." So
That's a lie.
I don't believe it.
Reggie's one of those guys that I hang out with, and he's like a brother to me. He's one of my best friends. All right, Reggie, call me. Let's talk magic anytime. Never get that phone call. It's like, come on, dude.
This is going to be an episode of lies, apparently. Back and forth is what it's going to be.
No. So this just came out. His linking ring issue. Let me get this up close. So for you guys that aren't into magic or just are following this because you like us, the linking ring is for the International Brotherhood of Magicians, and this is an international published magazine. And Reggie Rice is on the cover this month. And all these people are listed, him thanking, but I looked. My name wasn't in there once.
Well.
Why would it be? But still,
it's in the back. It's in the back. It says, "Hey, for all those people who I couldn't name."
There you go. Okay. All right. No, dude, but you had a huge list of really cool people that helped him along the way. He had Kevin Spencer and Sean Farquhar and Jeff McBride and Lance Burton and
Joe Romano. Local people who helped him along the way. So it was I said that, I don't know if I said, it's been a while since I've read it over again, but just working with Larry Littman, who actually is the one who pitched the idea and then wrote an article. I said I wanted to be like a love letter to all those people who've helped along the way, because I didn't get here by myself at all. Like, it's like whenever the idea of it was kind of like, so, I mean, you've been on it. It's kind of surreal still. So,
it's one of those things, you get it in the mail and it's like, it doesn't seem real. It's me on the cover. That doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I tried to look back and talk to a friend of mine to try to understand. Obviously, it talks about my first convention, and it was like, who was on that? And I was like, oh man, this is a magazine. And then it was like, I think it had one of an older picture of, it might have been like Thurston or something like that. And it was one of those. And I remember I felt like that's what those were, who was on the cover. Like people who've been greats for forever, or people who have passed away and are not doing it anymore. It wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't me, if I say it, if that makes sense, that was ever on the cover. So it's still a surreal kind of moment, and I'm like, it's crazy.
But you and I are close to the same age, man, and it's our time. If you mean the losing the hair time, then I agree with what. I didn't lose it. I know where it is. It's in the sink. So, but here's the thing, man. I've been getting linking rings since I was 18 years old. 400 shows a year since I'm 18 years old. Looking every single month since I'm 18 years old. I'm on the cover. It's our time, dude. I think that's what it is. We paid our dues. We did those shows, and we got noticed. That's what it is. We finally got noticed.
Yeah, I guess that's the right time, right place for sure. So like I said, Larry pitched. He said, "Hey, I'm thinking about pitching you." I remember the way he asked me. He was like, "Hey, do you mind if I pitch you for this?" And I'm like, I don't know if that's a question you ask people. Like, do you mind if, like, no, I don't mind. Are you sure you want to? And he said, he pitched it to Sammy, and he was like, yeah, I think it's a great idea. And it was still a surprise, all the candidates and different people. It's just the timing. Things work out. I will say this, that the universe answers exactly what call you're supposed to be at and where what you're supposed to be doing. And I don't get I don't say ungrateful, but it doesn't necessarily surprise me when things work out the way they do, because it's not like I am not asking for it and working towards it. But sometimes things work out in a way that I know I was like, it couldn't have been my plan, because I plan my daily day life and my career. And in the book, I think I talk, or in the magazine, I talk about the time when I met Michelle Obama and how I got the picture with her. And you have to read it to get the full story. But there's no way I would have planned using a little girl with Down syndrome as bait for the First Lady of the United States. Like, it wouldn't have never worked out that way. And if it would have, I would have been an evil genius and not a good person, because it's like there was no way. So it's just those plans that come together. It's like they're way more intricate than even us clever magicians can come up with. And I could go on and on and on about things like that that have worked out for me, and how I got different opportunities, and it was like right place, right time, but no way you could have planned it, kind of a thing. So.
Well, I remember, I guess it was 2011, we were competing at the same thing, like a local competition. And, but it isn't competition. People that don't know, it's not a competition. It's just going, showing magic for our friends. And you were holding my little girl, and I have pictures of you holding Lana. And I caught you trying to plant a card like down her diaper so that you could force a card later and have it reappear. I saw that, dude. Don't do that to my kid. Don't do that. Don't use my kid in the show to make me look bad. Don't do that, dude.
I was looking for it. You're looking for the spot. I was like, where would it be the most? I don't know. I was like, that's funny. It sounds like something I would do. I don't remember the diaper part, but that sounds perfect. It sounds like exactly something I would do.
Well, the diaper has an opening in the back. It wasn't like he had his hand down my daughter's pants. It was an opening in the back. He just stuffed it there, and I'm like, dude,
see, never even crossed my mind that part. There's the adult magician mind, and then there's the kid magician mind. They're totally different. They don't even register. It's like, oh yeah, that's what that.
And you obviously weren't thinking it through, because between the time you put the card there and the time you want to reveal it, something could happen where it does not come out looking how you put it in.
See, mom's thought about it. Of course, I wouldn't have thought about that. I've been like, how often does it shoot? I don't know. And moms are like,
a lot.
A lot. See, I would never have thought. I've been like, oh, it'd be fine for a couple hours. I'm like, that's funny.
It's minute by minute, dude.
Yeah, you never know.
What do you guys know? You only have. Well, okay, all right, you guys know.
Yeah, well, and the twins, man. We had 3-year-old twins running around. Boys are totally different, and having twins is totally different. Reggie, we're doing the thing now, man. They are fighting with each other, like fighting, kicking. And by the time you separate them, they cry because they want to be in the same room, and then they hug each other and fall asleep cuddling each other. Twins are.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. My mom used to do this. My mom's Puerto Rican, and she used to do this diabolical thing, which I'm sure would get her on a watch list now. But we used to fight. We used to fight. Me and my sister, and me and my brother. They would make us hug in the corner, kneeling on uncooked rice, which sounds like, it doesn't sound that bad. Oh, it is diabolical. In order to relieve your knees from the pain, you have to lean into the person who you're hugging with, and then you guys are, a team. So the person you hate that you were fighting with becomes your savior, so it's not as painful. It's a psychological, dangerous thing, and I hate her for it. She's brilliant, but I can't wait to have kids so I can try it.
Wow.
I gave you guys something. Yeah, you guys probably can't do it now. CPS would definitely.
So, our dog just tried to enter the room. So, you have 2 older brothers and a younger sister. Is that correct?
Yeah, I had to think about it. Yeah, I have 2 older brothers and a younger sister, and I have 3 older half sisters who are much older. Well, they're just older. I won't say much older for I get in trouble if they watch this.
So, any of them in show business? Any of them outgoing like you?
Not even close. I will say that I'm not the funniest in the family, and I have no problem saying that. Growing up, they used to have this thing. I don't know why I'm telling this. This is not stuff you tell in an interview. They used to have a joke where the family every time would go around and we'd be, at dinner or watching a movie or something in the family room, the thing that most people don't do nowadays. we'd be all, cutting up and telling jokes and stuff. And they'd go around, and my older brother, not my oldest brother, but my brother who's 2 years older than me, because we're 2 years apart, 2 and 2. And he's the funniest. Like, he is hilarious. He's just brilliant. They'd go around and he'd go, and then I'd get up and I'd try, and they'd have this thing where they would push a fake button in the air to let everybody know that it was time to laugh, because I wasn't funny. It was so and then I'd sit back down. But I think that made me funnier. It had to be, because in school, I had to go out and I was maybe trying to prove myself to be funny. But at home, I wasn't the funniest. It wasn't even close. I was the one who was the butt of all the jokes. So it's the family dynamic was different, but no one thought about turning it into. Maybe I think no one else thought there was any money in it, which we've proven that there's still kind of not, but it can be. But my oldest brother, the one who's funnier than me, he doesn't like being in the spotlight. I have him work with my illusion shows, and if it reads that he has to come on stage, he'll be like, so it worked out. What is it they say, the number one fear among people is public speaking. So I'm glad that the funnier people in my family weren't interested, because I wouldn't have a job. I would.
So when you have our crew is 6, but really it's just Natalie and I, and my kids come out. My little girl helps in a couple tricks, but we could do a show without my daughter in a heartbeat. Yeah. I think everybody knows that. My babies just take a bow. That's all they can do. Lana was in the show doing stuff at 3 years old, but my boys, they're too crazy. And we have a babysitter on the road with us. So it's 6 of us traveling around. But really, it's just Natalie and I. What do you have in your crew when you do your illusion show? Not a cruise ship. I'm talking about your illusion show. Because the cruise ship is by yourself.
People ask about the cruise ship. They're like, how do you bring your crew on a cruise ship? I don't. That's not how that works. It's just me and my 2 suitcases back there, which I probably won't even unpack because I have to go back in about 2 weeks. But I have a crew of 6 to 8. I have, someone who's running sound and lights. Then I have 2 assistants, 2 dancers, 2 female assistants who get in the boxes and props and stuff. And then I have usually 2 stage male hands or male assistants who moving the props around and stuff like that. And then depending, I usually have one of my illusions. We like to have a 3rd assistant, 3rd girl. Pop out of one of them, but it's only like for 1 or 2 illusions. So we use her in other parts and doing some other stuff. But and then we try to cross promote or have them do different jobs when it comes to selling props and selling magic kits and stuff backstage. And I do a meet and greet VIP thing where they come through, so they'll go and they'll get the people and usher them through for intermission. So yeah, usually I try to get it down because I worked, like I said, and talked with these other guys, and I've seen these shows on the road, and it's like I just saw Rick Thomas not a year ago now, and they were so surprised when they pulled up to this theater because they were the theater itself was like, when he pulled up, they were like, he was driving the truck. So it's it can be small if you're trying to make profit out of it, but I got about at least minimum of 6.
Yeah, that's what I just keep thinking. That's dollar signs. That's money out.
Yeah.
Gosh, if they're helping you promote it, yeah.
And people talk to me about it, my mentors, and say, hey, they talk about it, but it was like, in order to do the vision of the show I want, I know that I can think about it in that way, like, oh, I need to get it down to where it's only one man show. My good friend, working pro, Jay Mattioli, he's always trying to figure out how he can do his illusions by himself, and they're great. His visions are great on them. And for me, my show has always been a theatrical production that uses magic to tell a story. So I came from theater background, so I love the big theatrics. One of my illusions segments is about the TSA. The trick is the last maybe 30 seconds, but the skit itself is about 7 or 8 minutes. And it's hilariously fun and entertaining. We're going through the TSA and the alarms going off and this stuff. But that's the vision I've always had for my show. It's a big play that uses magic like a movie would use it for, instead of CGI, it's happening live. So that's what I envision. And sometimes I have to think about compromising my vision for the business side of it. And anytime I have to do that, I try not to, and think about, one of my favorite movies is The Aviator, where he's like, hey, I need one more camera. And he's like, the guys, they're all laughing at him because he had 100 already. He was like, I need one more to get the shot. And it was like, don't compromise your vision for not someone telling you no for something. And I always try to think about that, and it cost me, and it'll get there eventually. But I never got to see Siegfried and Roy's show, but I've heard there was a cast of 100. So I don't want 100, but I know I gotta. There's a happy medium with making stuff work. I mean, we all seen Copperfield's show. He's got, those magic stage hands who are in all black, who are way more magical than any prop we have, the stuff that they do. And he's got a crew of people. Obviously I'm not a Copperfield yet, or that level, but it's that fine line.
Yeah man, I can't wait to see one of your shows. I want to see one of your shows. You keep doing them in Maryland when I have shows.
This year, I know I've been doing a lot of cruising, but this 2024 2025 is, I'm going to be touring my illusion show, and it's my major focus. I just got one booked for North Carolina, and it's going to be in actually January of 25. But I have a lot more coming up, so stay tuned. Foolofillusions.com is the website for my illusion show, but you can all get through it through ReggieRiceShow.com. And I'm going to have a lot more. I have one coming up in February down here in my county. But there is going to be a lot more of my illusion show in these years coming. So that's my goal. As much as I love doing cruises because it can pay the bills and it's fun and you travel the world, my passion is my illusion show, 100%.
That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. So let's get back to your start, because I'm reading your article in your magazine. I'm learning stuff about you. Tell me about this place that you worked in that got you your first magic kit. You didn't get a kit when you were 7 like other magicians. How did that work?
I was 19. So yeah, the name of the family entertainment center is Hyperspace Fun Center, and it was a local fun center that was around here, and it was very easy. I was working at Walmart, and I went there literally I had a $200 credit card, and I was like, hey, if I can get another job, I'll just, pay off that card at the time, right? Because all the money I was having coming in from Walmart was just enough to pay bills or whatever. I wasn't making a lot of money, but it was like I was starting to save up, and I had a plan. I was like, hey, let me get another job. I just graduated high school, and was thinking about maybe going to college or something. I wasn't really sure, but I wanted it in the entertainment field. So I went up there to work, and it was, you got to play for a job. And I loved kids from an early age. Just anything that was just being a kid, playing with kids. People were like, man, you're so good with kids. It was like, you mean acting like myself? And they get me. So it was always, so whenever I went up there, I just started to excel because it was natural. You got paid to play and have, the smarts enough to be slightly responsible, which there's a borderline where I was, we're playing in the jungle gyms and having fun, and they had a rock climbing wall, hooking people up with safety, but also having a good time. And then I wanted to learn everything, but they had a small kit. It was a cardboard box, and he had, a label on it, and it had a couple of magic tricks, a thumb tip, a coloring book, a bag of balloons, and this little, I don't even know what it's called. We've had it before. It's a little squiggly thing, and you tie it to the invisible thread or the rope, and you put it to your belt, and it wiggles around and a hot rod. Those are the tricks. The worm. That's what it was, called in the book, or magic worm or something. And that was probably actually the first trick that I played with, and it was like, oh, that's kind of neat. But the hot rod was the first trick that I did. I was working at the rock wall, and I was just playing with it. I did it for a kid, and the kid was so amazed that I gave him. The dad gave me $5. And I was like, well, a 19-year-old kid, that's money for the concessions or whatever for lunch. I was like, all right. So the next day I started working on it and I started doing it for more people. And then when I started working in the birthday party rooms, I started doing more magic tricks as a bit because it was a way to get more tips in the party rooms. And then I started playing with the kids. That was easy. And then my show basically started from doing one or two tricks to the part where I was doing maybe like a 15-20 minute show within the party. And we started um, I started going online and looking for stuff, and I not convinced the manager, but the one who owns this family entertainment center was the one who brought this guy in, who brought the magic in, and they loved magic. So we started ordering magic tricks, and it started to become more and more, and it just started to take off from there. To where I started getting requested. I was wearing a Superman cape that I kept from my Walmart days of whenever I would, lead the Halloween thing around the store. Yeah, it just kind of took off from there, and I started getting requested to do magic birthday parties at Hyperspace Fun Center. So,
wow. So are you a Superman fan or not? I can't tell. I'm a Superman freak. I know you got a Superman belt, dude, but that's part of your thing from the Super Magic days, and you just happen to have a cape from Superman.
Everywhere. I have. If I take you back into my room, there's a shelf full of stuff. At one point, I was getting ready to move to Vegas before I had a total career change. I packed up all of my stuff and I just went in my garage the other day where I had like 4 or 5 boxes was just Superman stuff. That, but no, I am a huge fan, and we're not going to talk about it because I don't want to get depressed because Henry Cavill is Superman, and that's it. Let's move on. It's about to be serious.
All right. Yeah, we won't talk about it. I like Chris Reeves, but here anyway. Morgan Strubler, I had him on the podcast. He wanted to do a whole podcast just on Superman, but he ended up.
I'm with that. We can come back, but there's going to be some bitter unless anyway. Oh,
so let's go back. I met you and we became instant friends. I don't remember not knowing you. As soon as I met you, it was like we were just, I don't know how that happened, but it was awesome.
Well, you had the magic and you had the Superman. You guys had a lot that you liked in common. That's how that happened.
And I go home and I'm 2.5 hours from you, 3 hours from you. And I'm just playing in Magic, just watching DVDs and things. And I see you pop up on a documentary and I am shocked. The Magic, what was it called? Make Believe?
Oh yeah, Make Believe. I'm only in there for a couple of seconds.
You're in it.
But there was a lot. I was at the shooting of that a lot more. And believe it or not, it took more work to make sure that I wasn't in the shots than it was to get in it, because it was all about the teens. And so that was filmed up at World Magic Seminar before it became, different, big, and Magic Live and all that kind of stuff. But I have a knack for getting around and not following or stalking them in a way, the celebrity magicians or the big names or whatever. I was always either in the right place or I would go and talk to them and stuff like that. My first time in Vegas, I met so many of my mentors, guys that I looked up to, that the teens who I met there, we just kind of, hung out. And I mean, I was 21 at the time, so I was older than them, but they were 15, 16, way better than I was at Magic, doing all their flourishes and stuff. But I guess I was funny. So we were hanging out with them, they were hanging out with me, but I kept meeting all these celebrities, and every time they weren't with me, I would bump into another one. I was like, oh my gosh, I met Matt King. And they were like, what? What do you mean? Or Chris Angel came by, or Copperfield, or at the time, Rick Thomas was in Vegas. All of the guys who I have met over the years now, I met them at some point. So the teens started making sure that they weren't not around me. They followed me because at some point they knew that I was going to bump into one of their idols and stuff. But the camera crews were following them around. So I wasn't trying to be in their shots because they were, it was all about these kids and the stuff they were doing. They're so talented. Friends of mine now who are gone on and doing some of the same stuff, but it was the shot was there, and I'd be like, so anyway, that's that story. It was fun.
Dude, it was awesome, and we just keep running into each other in our career. We were doing a thing I had a sponsorship with Pepsi. Pepsi brought me into the Virginia State Fair Association, and wow. There you were.
Oh yeah, so they was that the one where they had their conference in I did Virginia State Virginia Fairs circuit one summer, and I did I wanted to say I did 6 or 7 counties. It was a very, very, and then the next year I was like, oh, I like fairs, the money's good, but fair life is a lot of work. The work didn't bother me, but the show quality is different. I remember a podcast of I think it was David Da Vinci did a podcast, and he had somebody oh gosh, I'm gonna forget his name right now. But I'll remember it in a little bit. But he said fair people are just excited to meet you and to see your show as they are to get a funnel cake. As long as that doesn't bother you, you'll be fine. Because it's magicians or entertainers in general can be prideful about their show, and it's like, as long as these people didn't come here to see you, they're happy to see you. They like magic just like anyone, but funnel cake, you just have to be okay with that. And then the show itself suffers a little bit because it's outdoors or whatever the case may be. I remember being like, all right, I'm going to shift my focus. I want to do my illusion show. It's not the same show as you're doing out Center Fair. What I didn't calculate was the money. The next year, my income took a big hit, and I was like, okay, well, I didn't plan for that because the fair money is great. So that's my fair experience.
No, it's hot. I put her in dry. She comes out soaking wet. That's the illusion, and the illusion was okay. But where did all that water come from?
Right? Yeah.
And the audience is fanning themselves. You get people coming up and running in. Mom, I need $5. They'll walk into the front row just talking to people. That doesn't happen anywhere else.
No.
It's a brutal existence, and my thing again is it's not about the pride of the show as much as is the show quality suffers, and the people there don't notice, but then you're giving a subpar quality product because of all the different things that can make a show better. It's like if somebody asks if you're doing a birthday party there, it's like, hey, do you mind if we're doing it? We can do it outside. And I got good with the answer. It was like, hey, I can do the show anywhere, but honestly, a magic show is best indoors for so many reasons. Everyone will enjoy it better inside, even if it's in a living room and it's cramped. It's just a better quality show. The elements are unpredictable, and there's just so much you can't control. And like I said, the show suffers because of it. Whether we want to be like, oh, I can perform anywhere. That was because at the time we all wanted to work, and working is more important than, the small sacrifices. But
dude, we've seen it all. You get outstaged by a bumblebee.
Yeah.
You get outstaged by an airplane flying over real low. A car going by, honking the horn, or the
all
neighbor.
the announcements.
How about the neighbor pulling out the lawnmower and start mowing right next to the property line? Yeah. I mean, we've seen it all. We have seen it all.
Oh, I didn't get that one, but I just little stuff like that. Obviously, it reminded me of a story just happened on this last ship. During the ships, they have announcements, and if the captain needs to say something, everything else is second nature, right? But normally what happens is entertainment director will let the captain know there's a show, the big show's happening, so they try not to announce stuff. But this one last ship, we were down in Ushuaia, and they have a half English, half Spanish speaking, so they usually do the announcements in both. So the captain comes on and he does the announcement in English, but it didn't come through the theater. And then all of a sudden, right in the middle of my show, doo-doo-doo, and when the announcement comes on, everything in the cruise ship cuts off. So all of the theater's music cuts, the microphone cuts, so it just stops, and all of a sudden the sound comes through it. So I'm talking, and all of a sudden you can hear the captain start and he's in Spanish, and I'm in the middle, and I'm going, and they start to laugh because people get it. They've been on the ship long enough. So then I just started miming, and I just pretending like I was speaking in Spanish. Would have got a couple of good laughs, but the announcement was long, so it started to get a little boring. But there, yeah, the guy was like, "Man, thank you so much." The cruise director ran up. He's like, "I tried to stop him." I was like, "It got a great laugh." I was like, "I don't want you to do it again," but I didn't get a lawnmower. Not during the ship. That would have been interesting. I would have asked a lot more questions.
You don't want a lawnmower. Lawnmower, airplanes, cars driving by. It's all not good. It's all not good. So
when you're starting out, you're doing everything that you're taking everything when you're starting out. So it don't matter. Lawnmower next door or not. It's paying bills and you just go.
I would rather do a show with a lawnmower next door than sit at home twiddling my thumbs. I just love working, dude. I love working.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. It's like, hey, you can make it work. And I'll say that being on ships, I run into a lot of the crew who've run into a lot of prima donnas, and they talk about them. And I make sure that I am if I'm not the best act, which I am not presently, I've worked to get the best I can possibly be. I will be the most easiest to work with. And they say that as much. They were like, "Oh my gosh, you're so easy to work with." And I'm like, it's all about tallying up points and however you can get them. I was like, my show's getting better every time, but they were like, "Oh man, you're so easy. You weren't, a prima donna and complaining or throwing tantrums." Or I worked with this other guy, to be named, and who was talking bad about the audience and how bad they sucked. And it was like, I love working. Like I remember, and I do my show. I say it. Hey, you guys want to go back in the house? If not, I need everybody to clap. We're here. We're out. So I'm not going back in. I'm not going back in the box. So
yeah, man, just working, having fun. We have seen at county fairs, we've seen bands that just are prima donnas. Hey, we go on next. Can you get off the stage? No. Come on. And we're trying to get on and on.
It's crazy because if you remember something, there was one of Prince's greatest performances. I'm sure there's a lot of them, and there's another band as well. It was and you watch it and people are like, "Oh, they're getting sprinkled on." I think it was during the Super Bowl. It was torrential downpour, and when you watch it from a different angle, he was completely soaked. I mean, he's playing his instrument and completely soaked. I was like, as far as what I know with electronic stuff, I don't even know how they're able to continue what they do. I mean, they're pros; they've been doing it a long time. But if Prince can not be a prima donna and some of these other performers, or you've seen them performing this kind of stuff, some people don't have any excuse. So that's I'm not Prince, so that's my theory on that.
You're not Prince, and if Prince doesn't need to be a prima donna, I mean, no one does. But we've seen it. I know you've seen magicians. I know you've seen it other entertainers. It's not cool, man.
People talk. I talked. My favorite thing about cruising is meeting people, and they talk. They love asking you your story, in my story, or what's going on in this. And then they like to share their times of things. Oh, yeah, I met this magician, and oh, he did this thing, or he was such a jerk about it, or he acted like they'll tell you. And it's like, I want my show to not carry on, just be what is on stage, but also what's off stage, and how you treat people in those stories, and how you act, and not being a prima donna carries over. So they talk about the celebrities and the Hugh Jackmans and the Rocks and stuff like that, where they give you those accounts where they're like, "Wow, that was the nicest person I've ever met in show business." And then you have the other ones. It's like, that's part of my persona, is to try to be that positive part as well, versus just being good, because I started late.
You got that one day, and that's the day something happens, and that's the story that gets told about you for 30 years. Mm-hmm. They don't remember the other 30 years of your career. That one time they met Rock at the grocery store that he didn't take a picture with them, that's that person's story for the rest of their life, because they only got to meet him that one time.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Or so I was performing on a ship, and someone said, or I was doing some magic for somebody. No, I know exactly what it was. My 20-year-old me would beat me up, or my 18-year-old or high school me would beat me up right now because about a year ago, I ordered a fanny pack. And I take it with me because it is the easiest place to carry magic. I've done it where you can carry it in your pockets, but it's just easier because you don't always need to pull it out. And I mean, when you're if you're doing restaurant magic, it can be in the pockets. That's fine. But anyway, so somebody was like, "Really?" It was another entertainer, and he was kind of a jerk about it. He was like, "You just always carry magic with you?" And I was like, I didn't used to, because whenever I was younger, starting out, I did. It was, hey, look at me, do a trick. I can do a trick. And it's annoying, actually, to people. It was like, I wanted to get out there, but I learned that whenever I got to the point to whenever people locally would like, hey, come show them a trick, right? It meant so much more. It worked out. It was good. It was better. But the real thing was, there's been times where I didn't have any magic or nothing on me, right? Or in this case, also a business card. And someone, hey, ask me, and it's like, hey, what do you do? And then you know how it goes into it. Oh, I'm a magician. Oh my God, show me a trick. Just a standard story. Where I showed someone a trick, and it just so happened to where the performance I did, like one of those serendipitous moments where it was such a little sentimental piece to them, and it meant something to them. And they started to cry, and they said, you don't know what I've been through. And I'm sure the magicians watching this, we can all say there's been one time in our career where that's happened to us, where the magic we did for somebody touched somebody in a way to where we would have never expected it, we would have never known it, and it leaves a long-lasting impression on them. So for me, it's not only my job to be on. I have my Jeff book somewhere, 24/7 Magician. It's always right here with me. Where all the world's a stage, because you never know where you're going to run into it. And that's what we signed up for. There's a lot of magicians and performers who are introverts, and I get it. I'm blessed to not be one of them, because it makes it a lot easier that it's not let me force him to do something. Somebody's like, hey, you want to show me a trick? It's like, oh, technically my inner me has been dying for someone to ask, but I had to wait. And you touch people in ways where you never could have planned for, and it means something to them. We're going through times now to where we all do the same thing, and another school shooting. Like, it's getting ridiculous. My school, my alma mater, Great Mills High School, happened to be one of the schools, 2019, 18, or 18, where they had a school shooting. And I remember it was always one of those things where it was, it doesn't happen in our town. It sucks. But when it did, it was eye-opening. And I went there and I performed for my school, doing a show for them because the kids hadn't had nothing. And I just remember it was one of the most impactful or meaningful shows I've ever performed. But before that, I went to a restaurant and I performed for a lady doing my close-up magic. And I try not to cry when I talk about this. I did a magic trick for this lady, and she started crying afterwards because I didn't know this, but she happened to be the nurse at the school. And people don't think about it. Before the paramedics and stuff get to the school, who has to handle this stuff? A regular school nurse who we have all had. They're sweet ladies and deal with this stuff, and they're not trained to deal with this kind of stuff. And this one had to deal with a shooting and a death. And she thanked me like, I did everything I could not to just kind of cry, but she was like, it happened that week. So I always try to stay positive, because I know they deal with a lot of times when they're talking to these people, other people, and they, get into it and they cry and stuff like that. So I try to stay positive. But if I didn't cry like my eyes out whenever I got in the car, but I think of those times every time I'm going to leave my room or leave my house and say, oh, I don't need any magic with me today. Because it's not just a trick. So I'm glad you took us there on that dark path real quick.
No, dude, I mean,
No.
I have it too, at going to restaurants and you perform for somebody and the whole family just says thank you. One of my restaurants was near a hospital, and they said, my dad just died. We didn't think we could laugh tonight. Thank you. You know, but That's every show, though. People have cancer diagnosis. Somebody in their family is suffering right now, or they just lost their job, or their kid's sick. You just don't know.
Yeah.
The real magic of laughter. I know I use it as a cliche or not a cliche, as a slogan, but that's it. I mean, sure, all of your listeners could write in. I would love to hear them or see it. I'm sure you would as well. Just those moments that magic was real for someone. I was cut you off.
No, you're good. I was just going to say it takes people out of their everyday lives, their everyday problems, even just for a little bit. And, you know, I know that through the pandemic era, I saw, and it got on my nerves. I saw people saying, oh, see, you don't need entertaining. You don't need entertainers. They're not important. They're not the essential jobs. Yeah. I'm like, all right, what are you doing right now? You're binge watching TV to keep yourself entertained and get your mind on something else. Entertainers make life-saving, but darn it, we serve a purpose. And I love that we can do that. And you're looking at me like I'm crazy.
I remember that.
I love that we can do that.
I knew. I knew a post from our friend, and it said something that entertainers aren't needed. See, they're not essential. Right. Talking about football players and Tom Cruise and things like that aren't essential. And we're sitting at home unemployed with twins on the way, and we're like, girl, you don't know what you're saying. You don't know.
They're not on your friends page anymore, but they're but I didn't listen to it.
We can be open-minded. We don't care.
But I didn't listen to that, but I knew if I could put money towards, and I kind of should, like in stocks, I knew whenever the pandemic was lifted how it was going to be. I knew people were like, oh, the cruise ship business or the entertainment business is going to be is done. I was like, as soon as the floodgates are taken down, I knew for years what it was going to be. When I was just at home preparing for it, it was like, we're about to have a boom. I say like the baby boomer situation. It was where it's like, it's about to be like this for a while. And no matter what happens, I know they're talking about different things and recessions and stuff like that. Entertainment, unless it goes to where it's completely locked down, which is not going to happen again. I'm using my psychic powers. We're in business, and we're not going anywhere. So we're essential, and they know it.
Well, and then, you know, with social media and everybody sitting at home just doing this all day long, a magic show gets you out of the house and gets you around real people. Right. We're social creatures, man. We need to be in a live audience. And watching a Zoom show is not the same as being in a live audience. I hate it. I know. I watch stand-up comedy on Netflix all the time. But I laughed out loud. I watched Dave Chappelle's new special. Laughed out loud 3 times during the special, like belly laughs, where I can watch other specials. But if I was live in audience, I'd be laughing a lot harder at a lot of those other specials.
Feeding. Yeah, you know, I love watching comedy stand up as well, but they don't ever do them on without a live audience. Like, I mean, even if you were talking about the Tonight shows and stuff like that, there's a live audience there. You just think about if they were to film those with nobody there. Stand up comedy alone. Oh wow, that just gives me a dirty, weird feeling of what would because I've done stand up. It's like, what would stand up be with no audience? Just magic with no audience is the same. I was like, you know, I told you right before, I was like, coming on I don't do, you know, you do some Zoom meetings or whatever. They're not that, but the podcasts and different stuff like that. Just to think about that era. I know friends of mine who kind of liked them, and they were like, gone back. I was like, I don't think I will do it ever. Like you'd have to literally tie me down, and it'd have to be really more extreme cases than it was, but we're not talking about that dark period.
You get that feedback.
We were in limbo, though. It was weird because we still had resorts, and it was weird. But we would have a Zoom show. I'd have to unload all my stuff, set up backdrops and everything, do the show, and then I had to load it back. It wasn't like I set up in my living room or in my garage and had a studio and just did the show there every day. That would be cool. I had to pack it all up because I might have a show 50 feet away from people or behind plexiglass performing at people the next day. And it's like, oh, it wasn't easy either way because I was tiptoeing both. I wasn't 100% in either world. Right. So that made it difficult. Tell me about the Superman magic. What is it? Super Magic Man. I want to know more about this. I'm not talking about Chris Reeves. I'm not talking about Henry Cavill. I'm talking about you, Super Magic Man. What was that character? Did you have any Superman magic? I want to know.
No, I just put Superman logo with my name everywhere. Like I just put the logo everywhere. It was ridiculous. I had a cape. You know what? I take it back. In my first Illusion show, I did. I don't know why. I did the cutting in half. I built my own cutting in half illusion, and I did it using the Superman costume. Why? Because it was a lot easier to use the big, huge rain boots that looked like Superman boots than it was to do it the other way. I think I've had Superman.
I thought you were doing it with your eyes. I thought you were sawing someone in half. I thought you were in the outfits.
That would have been brilliant, but it was in the beginning of my career where not all of my skits and stuff made sense at all. I wore a lot of costumes in my show, and Superman costume was definitely one of them. So like I said, when I was working at Walmart, I was goofy and obviously still played around, and my managers, they were like, hey, would you like to lead the kids around for Halloween? I was like, yeah, but I need a costume. I wasn't buying it. So I was like, hey, we're going to store use it. So went and got my Superman costume from Walmart. And then I led the kids around. So I had that. So whenever I started hosting birthday parties, they encouraged us to be fun and have some, I don't know, just one day I was like, I brought my Superman cape and it turned into a thing. But the owner and manager of the Family Entertainment Center, Kathy Hollier, said, you know, when you perform, it's like you soar through the audience, creating laughter and memories, because she knew I liked Superman. They were like, so you're like the Superman of magic, or the Super Magic Man. And there's a couple of times in my career where people say stuff, and there's a lot of things that I use that are not, I will not claim. And it was like, oh, that's good. And then it stuck. It took me years, and still some people down here will be like, Super Magic Man. I'm like, or kids are like, man, I remember going to the parties and the Super Magic Man did my birthday party, and now you're doing my kid's birthday party. I'm like, thank you. You've gotten older. I stay the same. So there's that. And then another friend, was joking around and was like, have a nice day. And I'm like, that's good. So, it became a thing. So that's how it came out to be, just characters. I have a lot of characters. Oh, I know there's a lot more. One of the bits in the show was I had my Superman cape or costume, the whole costume, and I come out and we made these dumbbells, and I lift the dumbbells up. And it was an old funny gag where I'm lifting the dumbbells up and I'm pretending to have the Superman music, and I put it down. And then we have one of my assistants, actually one of the owner's kids, because they used to work with in the show a lot. She came on stage and picked the dumbbell up real quick and just walked off stage because it was made out of foam, but it looked like it was real. So it was jokingly hilarious, kind of like, and I did a whole bit about that. But thinking about that, it's kind of like the Houdan, the light heavy chest. That was exactly how it was. Like I was like faking, and then she came, and it was like, so mine was all. So I did stuff like that throughout the show. Whenever I could wear a costume or the Superman costume, it was in the show. Any Superman magic, I don't know if I was, I don't say good enough to find certain routines that made sense to where like, oh, this would be what Superman would do. But
can you see this clock? Can you see that clock?
See
this clock, you set it to whatever hour, close the door, and you can look through it. You use your telekinesis powers, and you can tell him what time it is. So Superman had X-ray vision; he could see it.
If you were a writer for me when I had this, that would have been great. I needed to definitely.
So Brandon Roth, I think, had the one like in 2008. He was the Superman Return, and that year it came out at the beginning of the summer. Our resort season starts in May, and we put this Superman thing in. Walmart had an inflatable Superman outfit for kids. You push the button, a fan blows it up and gives him muscles. So we would get a kid from the audience, take him backstage. Natalie's going to talk to him. She putting him in the outfit. I'm doing a magic trick with the little girl on stage to stall. After that magic trick's done, I did the clock with the girl because I pretended that I had Superman powers. Imagine if I was Superman, I could see through walls. Can you see through this? You can't see. Whatever. They set the clock, and I'm using my X-ray vision, and I'm telling what time it is. It was right. By the time that's done, the kid comes out with his Superman outfit. Now he's Superman. I don't remember how it transitioned, but now we're just going to another trick. And I had a light and heavy box, and Walmart sold silly slime, Play-Doh, something. It was slime, but it was in a mold that looked like kryptonite. It was just green slime in a kryptonite. So we put the kryptonite in the box. Superman couldn't lift it, but the little girl could. It was light and heavy box, but the outfit, it made the routine. I used it one summer, but it made sense to me because
it might go back. It might go in the show. It might go in the show. I have a Superman suit that I use for my school shows now. It's anytime I do a kid show or a school show, yeah, I have a Superman suit. It's got the Superman logo. It's blue and red. I'll send you a picture of it. But so yeah, I need new stuff for my kid show, but I focus on my bigger shows, so my kid show stays the same.
No, I just want to tell you Superman stuff. We're bonding over that, but that was fun. I used it because Superman hadn't been in the movies in forever at that point. So for me, it was a big deal. And it was also pop culture, so it made sense all summer long that movie was going to be playing.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I had fun with it. But other than that, we did like, I don't know what the name of the trick is. Copperfield did it with albums. It was the mechanical deck with albums. Oh. We did it with movie posters.
Yeah.
So James Bond music would play and Wizard of Oz music would play, and the audience would try to guess who it was next. And then I'd turn it around. And then we did mechanical deck with movie posters. And my reveal was Superman, but she had picked Wizard of Oz. That was her favorite movie. But magically, I made a match. So that was another Superman nod, but it wasn't over the top like the Superman outfit was.
Right, yeah.
But anyway. All right, back to you. So what's been your favorite port so far in the cruise ships?
There's a lot. But I'll tell you, in general, it's more or less the different stuff that I do. But it's flickering.
Yeah, so let's tell everybody, if we lose, we have a major storm going on. You're in Maryland, I'm down here in Central Virginia, and it's all across the East Coast right now. Yeah. So if it's sketchy tonight, sorry.
It's blowing. But yeah. I couldn't go. I was supposed to go to Ushuaia, which is the very, very southern tip of South America. And the wind was so bad down there, we couldn't go in the port. So I had to stay on the ship for another 11 days and go down to South Antarctica, which was amazing. I had another ship planned in Grenada, which would have been a little different from the cold down there. But I got to go to Antarctica, which is apparently I'm like one of the 0.2% of people on the planet who's ever been to the continent, which was amazing. But different ports like that, which take almost 2 days to get down there for certain times. I've been to the Azores, which is off the coast of Portugal, which is kind of ridiculous to say because it's so far off the coast of Portugal that it's kind of like saying going from Maryland to Florida. It's like super far. People are like, oh, you went to Portugal? I was like, I don't think that's really saying. But I'll tell you the port that kind of sticks out to me. It was in Alaska, and there's a bunch of ports in Alaska that are beautiful. But there's one called Haines, Alaska, and most people, whenever I asked my entertainers we have a group in the Facebook, I was like, hey, what do you guys do? What's to do here? All of them, they were like, stay on the ship, do your laundry, don't get off. Like, it was, and I was like, but I'd worked out earlier that day, so I wanted to just go and spread my legs. So I was working in my room. So I literally got off, and I was just going to go walk around for a little bit. And I rented a little motorbike, and I went down this road that went down to a park, a national park. When I tell you there was no one else in the world on this, it was just me. It felt like I was the last person on earth. It was one of the most amazing things I've ever done. and there was nothing really to it. Like I just kind of stopped every once in a while, looked, and I'm like, there's nobody who's ever been here. It feels like it was quite crazy. So one of the things I do whenever I go to different cities is I try to get some kind of transportation, and I go by myself. I was in St. Martin beginning of this year for a month at a resort, and I took a 4-wheeler around the island, and you just stop wherever you want. That was great. I did the same thing in the Azores, which is Puerto Delgada, taking a little moped around and just stopping randomly at places. It was absolutely gorgeous. So it's not all the ports. I say like the islands, right? Same people, different island. I think I find that with the ports. It's like every port has its own unique, amazing thing. But it's experiencing them all, and just kind of do it. Somebody was like, "Hey, feel so awesome that you're like experiencing." I was like, I don't know if I'm going to these places, these once in a lifetime opportunity. I just want to experience, because I don't know, when's the next time you'll be back, or when do you get to do it. When I was in Antarctica, I was like, oh, I'm going to get out and do something because I don't know when I'll be back. I should have known I'm actually going to come back in 2 weeks, but you don't know that at the time. So it could be the last time. So
anything can happen, man. I can't imagine, these guys that have been doing it for 40 years and just going back to that same port. And it's like, do they just stay on the ship? I wouldn't want to do that either, though. I mean,
yeah, it's so before May of this year, I've never been to Alaska. Since then, I've been 7 times. So I remember the first time and the second time, the glacier, and then the third time. And I remember the 4th time, I stayed in my room working on some stuff because, business still has to go. People say, what do you do when you're on the ship? I was like, I do as much as I can, but also schedule out time to work on my business, because when you come back, I'm not blessed enough to where it's completely booked up yet. Where I'm working on, stage stuff. But I got out, and I remember I went to dinner, and somebody's like, hey, did you see the glacier? And I'm like, no, I stayed in my room. They're like, what? I was like, oh, yeah. I stayed in the room while beautiful glacier was outside. And I was like, oh, I hope I don't get to where it's like that. But sometimes you can. It's beautiful. Antarctica is beautiful. You should do it at least once. But I don't think I need to do it that much more.
Like 12 times is the max. Yeah. You don't want to do it. I mean, I could see that. And you're not really seeing Alaska. You're seeing this much of it. I mean, you're seeing
yeah. Alaska is huge. I will say, talking about the ports, I had to fly down to, or up to Anchorage. And the port was in Whittier, which is far off the beaten path. Like, looking at the maps, one of the things I do whenever I'm on these ships now is I find where they're at, and I look at them, and I zoom in, I zoom out, I see where they're at or whatever. Like, whoever found this little city, if you want to call it that, because like Haines, 1,800 people was the town's population, except when the cruise ship comes up, it triples or doubles, right? Whittier's like that as well. So we had to take the bus, which is like an hour from my hotel to get there. And driving through Alaska was stunning. And you don't always get to see that kind of stuff on the ports. But it's beautiful, but there's so much you don't get to see.
And how much time do you have in port usually?
It depends on the port. Some of the ports there for a couple of hours, like 4 hours. So I mean, we've got the fueling is usually about 4 or 5 hours. But some ports you can have longer. Some ports is like, wow, how short it is. And some we get there like 7 or 8, and then you don't leave until like 12 that night. So
yeah, wow. I just remember we did one cruise. We weren't fans. There wasn't enough for me to do. I like to go. And I'm not playing.
Small boat, though.
Yeah, we were on a small boat, and I'm not playing bingo at 3 p.m. But I don't want to swim in a swimming pool with 9,000 people either.
It depends on the ship you're on. There's a lot to it. If you get like me, there's there was one port where I'd been to before a couple times, and I knew exactly what to expect and what to do and whatever. Everyone's off the ship, so the jacuzzi and pool's mine. So,
right. Yeah, dude, that's crazy. I think we're getting close to being out of time here, man. Everybody check out ReggieRiceShow.com and FoolOfIllusions.com. Does it link to the same thing, or is it different?
Two different websites. ReggieRiceShow.com is my landing page where, like, I can send there. You can get to all different types of my shows. My adult show, which is adult daycare, or my family show, and then there's a Full of Illusions. Full of Illusions is my touring illusion show. So you can go to FoolOfIllusions.com, and it just shows where I'm be touring, which I'm gonna start to put dates and stuff like that. But man, if you have a theater near you, and you want to have my show come, please send me a message. And I am all about reaching out to those theaters, and they don't know that they need this show because it's different from any other magic show that's been in town. So I went to Maryland Live or Maryland Hall in Annapolis, and I went to see Rick Thomas's show. And I just remember the person there, we got to talk, and they started asking me about what I do and how I knew so much about the show. And I had no idea that me giving them my information would lead to me doing a show there afterwards. And I just was like, you guys know, I made it very clear. I was like, listen, my show is entertaining. It's fun. It's great. But there will be no helicopter. You do know this, right? They were like, yeah, it's great. So I don't have a helicopter, but the show is good. So I got a lot of big toys. I actually have a new.
Go ahead. I said Rick Thomas is a different show, but yeah, it's a good show. Trust me.
Yeah, it's a great big show. I'm working on it. I got a 24-foot trailer worth of props and equipment, and I'm always getting more. I literally just have a new illusion over here, which is a suspension, with the neon light suspension, where I'm gonna start changing it and adding more new things to it. But I just got it for this show coming up, so I'm excited. It was waiting for me when I got home. Like I need it. I don't have more room now in my trailer.
Your show on the cruise ship, though, is just your stand-up show, right? It's like a Matt King style show. It's a stand-up show, right?
Yep. All of it fits in 2 suitcases, which are right back here, which
awesome.
Are at 52 pounds each. Just, they always say, they're a little heavy, and I go,
weigh it again.
Yeah.
Weigh it again. Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. ReggieRiceShow.com, FoolOfIllusions.com. Check him out. If you're a theater and you want to book an awesome magician, he's my buddy. I recommend him. Check him out.
Thanks for having me, Wes. Thank you.
I love you, dude.
It was lovely seeing you.
Every once in a while. Would you?
You're such a liar. I'm going to text him right now. I'm going to show him all the different times when I'm around. So,
hey, only thing left we have to say is see you next week.
Check us out online at wesiseli.com and patreon.com/Wes_Iseli for behind-the-scenes videos, blooper videos, never-before-seen footage, discounts on merchandise, magic trick tutorials, and more. That's Wes Iseli, spelled WESISELI.